You guys like that classic YouTube intro where I was out of the frame and then I came back in the frame to kind of make it cool and casual, you know? So it's that time of year, you know, it's winter, it's cold out, it's getting dark early, but it's also that time where we start thinking about the trails that we want to do for the season. You know, we're getting on recreation.gov, filling out those applications, hoping we win that lottery. So, you know, I'm just going to share some of my personal experience that I had on the JMT, and hopefully a few of these tips can help if you plan on hiking the JMT this upcoming year, or really for any long distance backpacking trip. So this is just my personal opinion from my own lens, and hopefully this will be a helpful resource in the pool of all the other resources that are out there. So number one is train your body as much as you can. If you plan on hiking the JMT, you need to train for that trail. You want to be able to train for endurance, but also strength as well. So make sure you're kind of lifting weights, make sure you're hiking, obviously. Hike with your pack, hike with weight in your pack. Some things that I did to prepare, I had a gym membership, so I would go to their HIIT workout classes, like their boot camp classes, where it was like high intensity, but I also did a lot of weightlifting as well. And when I did, I went heavier. So I lifted heavier than I normally do, just to really strengthen my calves, my legs, just to really prevent injury on the trail. And thankfully I didn't have any knee problems or ankle issues or anything like that. Another thing you'll want to do is toughen up your feet. You know, you're going to be putting repetitive pressure on your feet every single day for multiple days. And we met a lot of people on the trail that, you know, had to quit for blisters. So you want to try to toughen your feet. You know, some people do that by walking barefoot outside, just taking a walk down your neighborhood barefoot. I didn't really do that so much. If I worked out in my house, I worked out barefoot. But most of the time I just walked around in shoes that were zero drop. So like Vans or Chucks, you know, shoes that are like completely flat. And I have flat feet and wide feet. So blisters was something that I was really worried about, and just my feet like hurting. That was something that I was concerned about. So I just made sure to like strengthen those muscles down there so it could take that repetitive pressure that you're putting on your feet and your ankles every day. So my second tip is exactly what you're doing right now, watching YouTube. Watch as many resource videos as you can, you know, and not just the big guys, not just the Darwins and the Dixies and Jupiters, not just those guys, but try to find people that, you know, don't have that many views on their YouTube channel or don't have many subscribers, because just because someone doesn't have as much going on in their channel, like this one right here, doesn't mean that they don't have helpful information. And so everyone that you watch and talk to, or, you know, everybody that you watch or connect with can have helpful information for you, and that way you can widen your scope and figure out what works best for you. All right, so my third tip is related back to the trail, and that's hike at the pace that works for you. You know, I'm on the Facebook groups and I see some people saying that they want to hike the trail in 10 days or 7 days or 14 days. You know, and some people will be on there just kind of giving them crap about not taking enough time, not, you know, stopping to smell the roses. But maybe they want that challenge. Maybe they want to challenge their endurance, or, you know, just challenge their body physically. So yeah, hike at the pace that works for you. When I hiked it with my friends, we hiked between 12 and 14 miles a day. So we weren't crushing miles. We weren't crushing 20-mile plus days. And the interesting thing is that we met people closer to the beginning of our trail that were doing high mileage days, and we actually finished with a couple of them on the same day. And so it took us a total of 19 days to finish the trail. And so we finished at the same time as some of those other people that were doing 20-mile days. And so just because you're crushing miles and doing 20-mile plus days doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to finish it faster. It only means that you're going to have to probably take an extra 0 day. Well, as our group, we took 1 0 day. And so that was enough for us because we weren't killing ourselves every day. So like I said, hike at the pace that works for you. Enjoy the trail, but if you want to fast pack it, if you want to see how fast you can go, that's awesome too. I'm all for it. All right, so my fourth tip is, just as much as you're preparing your body, you want to prepare your mind. If not more, to be honest, preparing yourself mentally for this trail. This is a hard trail, and again, you're gonna be out there for multiple days. If you're not used to being out there for more than a weekend, you're gonna wanna have that mental fortitude, especially if your goal is to finish and you really wanna complete the trail. Another thing to note is that it's not that easy to just get off the trail. It's not like the Appalachian Trail out here where I live on the East Coast, where you can come to a road, once a day, and if you need to get off, it's pretty easy. The Sierra Nevada is very remote, and so it's not easy to just leave. So be prepared for weather, thunderstorms. We had about 6 days of rain total. And at some point it got a little dangerous where we had to kind of crouch and get under some trees. And the second day in particular was, we had a really bad storm. So bad that people on the trail were talking about it for like days and days afterwards. Really bad lightning. It was kind of scary. And we were like borderline hypothermic, It was a whole thing. It gets cold out there, so if you're not from California and you kind of know California for being very dry and, being in drought all the time, the Sierra Nevada is a whole different world. It's going to rain, especially on that northern end, closer to Yosemite. That's where we got most of the rain. I would say further south, we didn't get as much rain during the second half of our hike. But yeah, that first half we had about 6 days of rain, and it sucked. It was not fun. And mentally, it just kind of takes a toll on you. It kind of brings the morale down a little bit. So, be prepared for that, just that mental aspect of moving forward, especially if your goal is to complete the trail. If you're with a group, make sure you're encouraging each other. If you're hiking solo, maybe link up with a group. I know that we had a couple of people that linked up with us for a few days. So yeah, definitely prepare your mind for the trek. Prepare your mind for the journey. Because there are going to be days where you just don't want to be there, where you want to get off trail. And you're going to have to remind each other like why you're out there, what the goal is. I will say the nice thing about completing a long distance hike is that once you go on a day hike afterwards, you really don't worry that much about like getting wet or being cold or whatever. I know I don't. I went on a hike a couple of weeks ago in Colorado, and it was snowing, my feet were getting wet and my hands were cold, but guess what? I knew I was gonna be back in my car that night and I was gonna shower that night. So knowing that I'm gonna sleep in a warm bed on the same day is very nice. Once you've been out for multiple days and you know that you can't just leave when you want to. So, perspective. So my fifth and final tip is to humble yourself before the trail humbles you. Now, I kind of say that jokingly, but for real, the JMT is a hard trail. And, we met a lot of people out there, a lot of like athletic men, a lot of people out there that were fit, that had to quit for various reasons, whether it was blisters, whether, again, that mental fortitude just wasn't enough, for different things. These mountains are difficult, and these mountains don't give an F who you are. So yeah, just kind of go into it humbly, not with like a cocky attitude like, oh man, whatever, I got this, I already hiked the PCT, I da-da-da-da-da. Because you never know, anything can happen. So that would probably be my biggest piece of advice, would be to humble yourself before the trail humbles you. You can take the most athletic person out there, and as soon as they get on the trail, they're kind of thrust into the reality of the difficulty of the terrain and everything that comes with it. So stay humble. So that's about it. I mean, there's so much more I can talk about. I didn't even touch on altitude, VVR, which is where we took our 0 day, staying hydrated, all those things. So, if this was helpful, you can let me know in the comments. If you'd like me to make a part 2, if you want to know a little bit more about my experience, if you care about my gear at all. To be honest, the gear that I had is like the same light, ultralight backpacking gear that everybody else has, so it's not really anything special, Big Agnes, Catadine, all those things. So I don't really feel like a gear video is necessary. But yeah, let me know what other questions you have. I'm happy to, chat about my own experience. And good luck out there, and we'll see you next time.